Hey guys, today I'm going to show you several different ways to draw anime eyes and how to come up with your own manga and anime inspired art style. This part of the video was recorded in post, but the rest of it was narrated live, and it was created to help me prepare for the St. Charles Parish Art Squad. Art Squad meets once every 2 weeks or twice a month, and our goal is to draw and learn together. So if you've got a kiddo who loves to draw between the ages of 9 and 14, sign them up for Art Squad. This tutorial focuses on analyzing several popular anime art styles, discussing the differences between them, and then how you can take what you've learned from these styles to create your own style. So we're going to use these two different templates in order to practice drawing different styles of anime eyes. And I've also pulled up some reference from different shows. So the thing about anime or manga is it's not really an art style. It's used to refer to a broad spectrum of things. In anime's case, it's typically Japanese animation, whether it's CG or whether it's hand-drawn. And they'll refer to Western animation like Disney movies as anime as well. And manga is just Japanese comics. So when we're talking about anime style or manga style, we have a really broad range that we're talking about. So in the US, when we're talking about these things, we're really talking about a stereotypical idea of what we think that should look like. So for today's tutorial, I'm going to practice drawing several different styles, walk you guys through it. I have more tutorials here on this channel for how to draw cartoony characters, how to draw your own characters, how to draw the human figure, and how to draw faces. So if you want to learn more about drawing and designing your own original characters, you guys should check those out. But today we're mostly just figuring out, or we're just focusing on doing what I call style tests. And way back in the dino days of 2014, I did about 100 different style tests. And what I did was I drew my character, Kara, studying the styles of different artists and trying to figure out why they drew noses the way they drew them, or why they drew the eyes the way they drew them, or why they handled hair the way they did that. And it really helped me level up my art. So if you're struggling to kind of find your own artistic voice, doing a style test with a character you're familiar with, whether it's your own or a fan character or an OC, is a great way to kind of figure out what direction to take your art in the future. So as we do the different faces, I will pull up the reference, and for today, I'm just focusing on the eyes specifically. So if you're one of my fantastic art nerds on Patreon, if you help support the work that I do here on the channel, you will find this template as a free printable. It's yours to print as you need it, or you can join the St. Charles Parish Art Squad. If you're a kiddo from the ages of 9 to 17, you're welcome. It's totally free. We meet once every 2 weeks, and you can find more information about that on the St. Charles Parish Library's Facebook page. I'll put a link down in the description below. If you're not a patron and you're not part of the Art Squad, you can purchase this template to use through my Gumroad. Otherwise, sorry guys, you'll just have to invent your own. So for number 1, we're going to be taking inspiration from a classic, Sailor Moon. This is one of the default styles that people think of when they think of quote-unquote anime style art. And I'm going to the throwback, the 90s Sailor Moon, because that's my favorite. That will always be my favorite Serena. So this template is just designed to show you guys how the eyes can really change how the face is perceived. Alright, so Usagi's eyes are slightly more than one eye width apart. She's also got really tall eyes. So a great thing about this exercise is it teaches you to think analytically about what you're drawing and what you're consuming. So we have the eyes blocked in. And I'm not doing the nose and the mouth, but she has a teeny tiny little nose and a teeny tiny little mouth. Maybe that'll be a follow-up video. And to me, eyebrows are a big part of the eyes and how the eyes are perceived. So I'll go ahead and block in the circles for where her eyebrows are going to go. So now that we have the basics blocked in, let's start by adding in some details. So she's got a heavier upper eyelash, and it is heavier particularly on the outside of the eye as well as on the inside of the eye. And I apologize that you guys cannot see this super well using lead. The pink lead shows up pretty good, better than the blue, but I do plan on inking this as well, so it'll be a little bit easier to see. Right now I'm just doing kind of my underdrawing sketch. And she also has an eyelid crease above her eyes. And then she's got kind of just gently sloping eyebrows. Now normally if I was drawing this off camera, I would twist and turn this paper in order to get the best angle for me to draw possible. But so that you guys don't get motion sick, I'm going to keep it at just one spot. We have a smaller lower lash line that follows the larger circle of the eye. And then we have a really large iris that in kind of her neutral face, and that's what I'm trying to draw here. It's just a neutral expression. The irises reach all the way to that bottom eyelash. And then in the 90s version, she's got an open iris, so it's white. And then she's got, actually it's even bigger than that, a highlight here, and then highlights down there. So that is, oh, and of course, she's got tons of eyelashes, both at the corners or the outside corners of her eyes, radiating out, as well as a couple small ones on the inside corners of her eyes, and then 3 little eyelashes on the bottom eyelids. All right, so next, so that you guys can see this a little bit better, I'm going to go ahead and ink it. So that is how to draw Usagi, or Serena's eyes. Next, we're going to move on to something a lot more recent. We're going to draw Deku from My Hero Academia. So his eyes are not nearly as far spaced apart as hers, and anytime I'm drawing, specifically drawing, Bowie wants to sit in my lap, so it's going to make it a little more challenging, but I'll do my best. He's a bit like the Paramount lion. And then he's got big, wide open, excited eyes that are just eager to see the world around him. So when you are designing your own characters, you want to think about what the eyes can imply to the viewer and what kind of hints it can give or misleading misdirection it can give to your audience. So his eye shape is kind of like a C shape going around the eye. And big eyes in character design typically imply like childlike innocence or childish innocence, an open, easygoing personality, somebody who's easily excitable. So unlike our Sailor Moon character here, he does not have visible eyelids. And the iris, I'm actually going to draw them a little bit bigger than they are in the reference, but the irises and pupils of his eyes are also much smaller. Now, I know some of you in the comments below are talking about, you know, shonen style, seinen style, josei style, and shoujo style, the different magazine types that are sold to people who are reading manga. And honestly, you can get kind of a shoujo style even in a shonen comic. You often see shoujo aesthetics in josei comics and vice versa. So it's really not so much a hard and fast rule as it is just kind of a general guideline. So his nose would be a lot higher, and he has a much bigger mouth than the Sailor Moon inspired character. So next, we gotta ink it. So even though both of these are characters that fall into the manga umbrella, and even though these are both characters with really big eyes, anybody who looks closely can tell that the eye designs are quite different between the characters. In fact, in My Hero Academia, most of the characters have very different eye styles, and that's used to help convey the characters' personalities to the viewers. So speaking of different eye styles, let's do two from Dragon Ball. Not Dragon Ball Z, but Dragon Ball. We're gonna go back to my cartoony roots. If you guys are not familiar with Dragon Ball, I think you ought to give it a shot. I think you'll really enjoy it. So Toriyama has a very similar eye style that he uses between characters, but his faces are so expressive and cartoony that every individual character has a lot of personality. He tends to draw female characters with the same type of eyes. He tends to draw male characters with the same type of eyes. And this is particularly true in Dragon Ball Z. So let's try drawing Goku's eyes. So he has a really narrow eye width between his eyes. It's not a full eye width. And then, like our Deku from earlier, he has these really big, cartoony, expressive eyes. Now, unlike Deku, the pupils on his eyes tend to be a little bit cross-eyed. They tend to be kind of close to the centers, right here to the edges of the eyes, but that just makes him look more focused and more determined. And unlike our Deku earlier, he has really, really thin eyelashes around, not eyelashes, but eyelids around his eyes. And like I said earlier, the eyebrows are kind of an important part of drawing the eyes. So he's got, they start off as a U, and they start off narrow, and then they get really bushy towards the end. And then if we were drawing his face and mouth, his nose would be up here, his mouth would be up here, big and excited and happy. So now that I'm looking at Goku versus Deku, I actually see a lot of similarities in how the two artists approach the character designs. So his is a pretty simple one, not a whole lot of details. Let's go ahead and ink it. So this is a great example of taking inspiration from artists who have come before you. Toriyama is like a god in Japanese manga. He has such a long-standing career. He's been with Shonen Jump for decades, and he has mentored many younger comic artists. So you can see from our Deku eyes, a lot was taken from Goku, but a lot was changed to make an homage character, a character who brings up some of the same feelings that Goku's child character design is able to elicit in a viewer, but it isn't just a direct copy. So this is a great example of taking inspiration from something that you admire and then changing it enough to make it your own. So Toriyama draws female characters' eyes pretty differently from his male character eyes. So I'm going to go ahead and draw Bulma's eyes just to show that to you guys. So the way he tends to do it is women's eyes tend to be even taller and more narrow than their male counterparts, although still pretty close set together. And then they gently slope at the bottom here. So Dragon Ball characters, especially the female ones, tend to have kind of triangular shaped eyes. Unlike Goku, she does have visible eyelids. And then she has really funny eyebrows. They really arch up there. And I'm just kind of sketch them in since they don't really fit in on this face at this point. Now he has a tendency to draw all of his female characters looking pretty cross-eyed, and their irises and pupils are also relatively small compared to, say, shoujo style art, where you have these big eyes with these huge pupils and all these shinies. But even though these eyes are small, well, rather, the irises and pupils are smaller, he still manages to find a lot of room for a lot of shiny. The eyelashes are not as thick as you might see in other art styles. He tends to draw his eyelashes pretty thin, and they do encompass the whole eye, but there's still room on there for some eyelashes. So you guys can see, pretty different, huh? All right, let's ink this. Same show, different characters. You can see there's a lot of differences between how he handles different aspects of just the eyes and the eyebrows. So just by tweaking a few things, or maybe taking inspiration from various sources, you can design very different characters that all live in your comic world. Okay, so we've drawn a few characters from Shonen series. Let's draw a very, very shoujo character. We're going to draw one of the girls from Precure, or one of the Precures. I think there's many of them. So something to pay attention to with the eyes on this one is her eyes are basically going to end up being all the way out to the sides of her face. So the gap in between her eyes is not quite a full eye width apart, but it's almost an eye width apart. And she has really, really big eyes. And she also is going to have really high eyebrows that are a little bit thinner than some of the characters we've drawn. So now we're going to start kind of sketching in her eyelashes. And when I'm drawing shoujo characters or characters that have big, lots and lots of eyelashes, I will kind of sketch them in like this first using lots of little lines. And that just helps me get kind of the thickness I need. So if you guys looked closely at the reference, and I know that's kind of hard to do, it kind of moved fast, you'll notice that the eyelashes on these characters, they look black, but they're not necessarily solid black. Like for her, she's got the pinker eyelashes, and then the blue one, I'm sorry, I don't know anybody's names, has kind of bluer eyelashes, and then the yellow one has kind of greener eyelashes, and then the purple one has purpley pink eyelashes. So what you can do when you're inking these is you can actually just ink the outline of your eyelashes and then color it in with whatever color you want to use for that. So she's got huge upper eye eyelashes and huge eyes, but then she's got kind of small lower eyelashes. And then like our Sailor Moon character, she's got these ginormous pupils, I mean ginormous irises. And actually, surprisingly, she's got kind of small pupils. And that is to leave loads and loads of room for all the shinies. She also has lots of eyelashes, and they're drawn in quite a bit chunkier than Bulma from earlier. And she also has visible eyelids. So how much detail you put in the face is going to, and this is kind of a more advanced comic and animation concept, the more detail you put in the face, the longer someone is going to have to focus on the face in order to read it. So it's often helpful to have a shorthand for faces for moments of action or comedic moments. And then in more dramatic moments or more heartfelt or more beautiful moments, you can focus on just like the big shiny with lots of detail added. Boy, she's got so many shinies in her eyes, because she's even got shinies here and then a little shiny there, and then the line weight on her irises actually changes. It's heavier at the top and then lighter at the bottom. So what you guys can see that I'm doing is I'm analyzing my reference, figuring out what they're doing, and then replicating it. Yes, I am copying it. This is a study. One could even call it a master study. And I'm internalizing what the original artist is doing so that I can better understand it. And then they even have like a lighter color shiny here. A lot of attention has been put into the eyes. But if you look at our reference image again, very little attention is put into drawing the mouth and the nose. Those are very simple. And then the hair is big, chunky, simple shapes. So all of the attention is going to the eyes. All right, so we've got it sketched in. Let's go ahead and ink it. These eyes are even more elaborate than Sailor Moon's eyes way at the top. So you can see it really benefits to slow down and take your time. Now, this is just a copy, it's just a study. I'm just trying to learn what they're doing and figure out why they're doing, just to demonstrate for you guys how to walk yourself through the process. You'll be able to develop your own art style or find new things to add to your art style by trying these exercises and then adding what works for you to your own art style. And the more sources you pull from, Japanese, Korean, Chinese, American, English, whatever, the more inspiration you can pull from, the more it's actually going to be your style, because instead of it just being from one artist, it's pulled from all the things you love. So for our last one, speaking of inspiration, let's pull from a Western thing that shows on Netflix that takes some inspiration from anime and manga. So for this last one, we're going to draw Hilda from the Netflix animated series and the comic Hilda. And she's got these huge eyes. They're very simplified, but a lot of inspiration came from anime and manga. So we have this really, really narrow gap in between where her eyes are going to go. And then we have these large and tall eyes. So they are taller than they are wide. That's something you want to pay attention to when you're doing your studies. And then her eyebrows are not nearly as high up as many of the anime characters that we've drawn. And she's got little jelly beans for pupils. She doesn't have irises, it's just pupils, and there's no shinies. She also has a larger nose and a small mouth, but we're not here to focus on that today. Her eyelids, the top eyelid, makes a U shape. And then the bottom one makes kind of just like a gentle smile shape. It's also important to consider that for any of these characters, their facial features are going to change a lot when you draw different expressions. So as you're kind of refining your style and figuring out your style, it helps to draw facial expressions from reference. You can work with a mirror, you can work from the internet, you can work with a friend, as well as from your favorite media. So the comic artist Inio Asano, I love how he draws crying and how he draws laughter. It's like ugly tears. And he draws these froggy face girls that I just love. So there's a lot that I can take from how he draws crying and laughter and bring that into my own art style and kind of tweak it. So it's about careful observation and analyzing what you're thinking and analyzing what you're seeing and thinking it all the way through and practice, practice, practice. So let's ink this Hilda. So that is 5 different artists' art styles, from Sailor Moon to My Hero Academia, Dragon Ball to Precure, to even Hilda. You can do as many as you want. Like I said earlier, in 2014, I did about 100 of them. I found it not only just really mentally stimulating and inspiring, but also kind of relaxing, and it really helped me hone my own art style. So before I say goodbye to you, I'm debating whether I want to do a big one in my house art style or do a small one in my house art style. Let's do a big one. So I'm going to draw Kara for you guys, and I'll walk you guys through my process, and then I'll ink it in time lapse. How's that sound? Okay, so for Kara, and this is a chibi style face. So normally for these kind of cuter faces, I draw bigger eyes. So her eyes are pretty round, and her eyebrows come pretty far off the rest of her face. Now, depending on what style I'm drawing in, I start with a little potato for her nose. And then let's draw her with an open mouth smile. So I kind of kip the upper lip up a bit. And I give her dimples. And I also usually draw her with a lower lip. So for the nose, I'm all about finding ways to kind of westernize anime style art and to kind of put my own spin on it and make these characters look like people I know. So I'll often draw bigger, more detailed noses on my characters than you might see in anime or manga. So go ahead and draw the ears. This is what I call jug handle ears. So for her eyes, ooh, that's actually taller than I normally draw her eyes. I usually start out by roughing in the eyelashes. For Kara, I don't draw any like standalone eyelashes like that, and I do try in general to keep her eyes at least one eye width apart. And this one they've gotten kind of away from me, but that's alright. I also do the little side thing coming down from the bottom like it's going into the lower lashes, and then I also draw that little like into the corner of the eye crease. And then for her lower lashes, so you can probably see where I get some inspiration for my own art style from. And then I draw fairly large irises, but not as big as like Sailor Moon or Precure. So it's kind of like a combination of shoujo and shonen styles. Gotta have the big old shinies. And then I draw the iris. And then her eyebrows are actually larger, thicker eyebrows, and I actually drew this face kind of large on the template. It's okay. And then for her hair, I don't really do detailed hair, so I kind of keep it into like easy to manage individual chunks. So her bangs usually have 2 chunks going off to one side with a little bit of hair here, and then 1 chunk going off to the other side with a curl right here. And then not enough room for her hair, but she's got kind of like a bob going. So I keep it into pretty easy to draw discrete chunks, because even though I'm a comic artist, a lot of my art inspiration comes from animation, and animation is often about economy of line. How little can you draw while conveying exactly what you need or the maximum amount? And then I'll draw in her teeth. All right, so let's go ahead and ink this. Alright guys, that was a pretty basic breakdown on how to draw anime and manga inspired eyes. First, we started by working from reference, and then I demonstrated how I draw my own character, since she is greatly inspired by the works that I've read that are manga or the things that I've seen that are anime. Wow, that sentence was worded really weird. Sorry about that. So if you guys are interested in a follow-up video, I can show you guys how to take what we've learned from here and use that to develop our own unique style. So let me know down in the comments if that's something you'd be interested in watching. This video was recorded to help me prepare for the January 21st meeting of the Art Squad. Art Squad is a art club held via Zoom for the St. Charles Parish Library, and it's open to artists ages 9 to 17. If you're interested in a St. Charles Parish Library art club for people who are older than that age group, let them know. They'd love to hear from you. If there's ever any sort of group or organization that you'd like to see the library help coordinate, let them know, because they only know what patrons let them know. They can't read minds, and the best they can do is guess. So if you want to see something, say something. If you're in the St. Charles Parish area, St. Charles Parish, Louisiana, by the way, and you have a kiddo who falls within those parameters, or you yourself fall within those parameters, you're aged 9 to 17, and you're interested in joining a friendly online art club, you can find more information about the Art Squad on the St. Charles Parish Library's Facebook page. I'll put a link to that down in the description below. This was also made possible thanks to the generosity of my amazing patrons on Patreon. Stay tuned to see who helps support affordable and accessible art education here on YouTube. I couldn't do it without you guys. Thank you guys so much for your support. And if you're curious who this little cutie is, you can read the webcomic for 7-Inch Kara at 7inchkara.com or 7inchkara.tumblr.com. The first 7 chapters are free. But if you want to help support my work and get a beautiful book in return, Volume 1 and Volume 2 of 7-Inch Kara are available on the Netto Shop, as well as my prose and illustration book, Lilliputian Living. I'll drop links to that as well. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I hope you guys will check out some of the other drawing tutorials that I'll link down in the description below. And hey, if you're looking for more drawing tutorials, why not check out my favorite drawing tutorials playlist? It's everything you need, curated for you, all in one place. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you guys again really soon. Bye, guys.